Now recognizes the ranking member, Mr. Hice of Georgia, for 5 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I likewise appreciate your comments about Chairman Cummings. He obviously, he and I and many on this side disagreed on many issues, but I will say he was always very respectful, and I had many conversations with him outside of this room, and he was always respectful and will be greatly missed, and I appreciate your comments. And I appreciate having this hearing today, and likewise I want to thank all our witnesses for being here. Especially want to thank Mr. Palmer for your service to our country. But regretfully, many members today cannot be here because of the House majority having created a scheduling conflict. And Mr. Chairman, as you know, the House majority has scheduled a deposition today as part of the illegitimate impeachment inquiry. As a result, the House majority has forced members to choose between this hearing and the deposition. And despite the importance of this topic, I believe the choice was unfortunately very easy for other members to make. Arbitrary rules imposed by Chairman Schiff have created an unprecedented secrecy around the inquiry. Next week, members will be able to review the transcript of this hearing and follow up with additional questions at our leisure. But the deposition in this partisan impeachment inquiry is not so cut and dry. The rules on who can access and how to access deposition transcripts are unclear and constantly changing. Members of this committee who have sought to review transcripts have been turned away. For those few lucky members, the Democrats will let peek at the transcript. Chairman Schiff is now insisting that Republican members have Democrat staff babysitters. Who knows what other rules are coming? With changing rules, shifting targets, and unprecedented lack of transparency, the Democrats' impeachment obstacle course unfortunately demands Republican members' whole attention. So back to the topic that we're here to discuss today. First, I'd like to say that the videos emerging of individuals throwing rotten food at U.S. soldiers is abhorrent. Those men and women have put everything on the line to further the goal of a safe and secure Syria and should not be treated that way. Beginning in 2011, Syria has been in a state of unrest. It began with the Arab Spring, which led to a civil war, all while the previous administration stood on the sideline. Then President Obama drew his now infamous red line. President Obama said that if Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad were to use chemical warfare, it would warrant United States military intervention. About a year later, when Assad did use chemical weapons on his own civilians, the Obama administration gave the keys to Russia in negotiating with Syria. While there are now fewer chemical weapons in Syria, Russia has gained significant influence. When Assad used chemical weapons again in 2018, President Trump did not balk. Instead, he launched a military strike on significant Syrian assets, sending a clear message to the Assad regime that the use of chemical weapons will not be tolerated. The continued efforts by the Trump administration have led to the defeat of the ISIS caliphate and a significant weakening of Islamic extremism in the region. Just a few weeks ago, President Trump announced the decision to withdraw troops from the border between Syria and Turkey. The role of the U.S. military is to protect vital U.S. interests, not to be a unilateral nation builder or arm insurgencies against a NATO ally. Previous administrations' actions, from arming insurgents in Latin America to intervening in Iraq and Libya, have proven that unilateral U.S. military action can indeed be problematic. And this situation is no different. The Syrian Democratic Forces, a U.S.-backed insurgency, is comprised of members of the YPG. The YPG is a splinter group of the PKK, a U.S. and Turkey registered foreign terrorist organization. It's no wonder why Turkey is uncomfortable with this alliance. An article titled, "Why is Turkey Fighting the Kurds in Syria?" in the New York Times further explains the connection. And, Mr. Chairman, I would ask unanimous consent to submit this for the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. I'm sure that everyone in this room, as well as the Trump administration as a whole, are devoted to the safety and security in Syria and the surrounding region. Moreover, since we are spending today discussing borders, I think it's an appropriate time that we recognize that the Turkish-Syrian border is almost 6,000 miles away. And while no question this issue does merit review, it's concerning to me that Democrats are more focused on a border crisis 6,000 miles away than the crisis at our own southern border. During fiscal year 2019 alone, Customs and Border Patrol apprehended almost 1 million migrants at the southern border. This is an 88% increase over the previous year, many of them having criminal records. So I continue to call on my Democratic colleagues to provide our law enforcement men and women the resources they need to solve this crisis. Again, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for this hearing and each of our witnesses. I look forward to hearing the testimonies and the questions ahead, and I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. Just as a matter